You get a cough that just won't quit or twist an ankle. You deal with it straight away. But then there's the other stuff. Persistent sadness, maybe, or stress that feels completely overwhelming, that anxiety just humming in the background. And we tend to just brush it off. Oh, it's just a phase, or I just needed to get over it. Okay, let's unpack this. We've all been there, right? As if our minds and bodies are totally separate things. It's like carrying this invisible weight. We see the physical burden, but ignore the mental one.
You've absolutely hit on a critical point there. And that contrast, that way we perceive things differently. It's not just, an oversight. It can be genuinely perilous. It often leads to really debilitating outcomes down the line.
Okay.
So we're going to explore exactly why taking care of your mental health proactively isn't some kind of luxury. It's fundamental, a necessity for your overall well-being. It's about finally shedding that invisible weight you mentioned.
It really sounds like our brains are just as vital, just as complex as, say, our heart or lungs.
Absolutely.
So if that link between mind and body is so strong, so undeniable, why do we still treat mental health so differently? Almost like it's in a lesser category.
Yeah, that's a deep question.
What actually happens when our mental health starts to falter? What's that ripple effect you hear about?
Well, it's not just a vague connection. Take chronic stress, for instance. It's not just about feeling bad. It can physically shrink parts of the brain like the hippocampus. That affects memory, how you regulate emotions.
Wow, actually shrink it.
Yes. And that physiological strain, it ripples outwards. We see increased inflammation, digestive problems, sleep getting totally messed up, a weakened immune system.
Yeah.
And there's growing evidence, like from longitudinal studies, showing chronic depression might even speed up cellular aging. It means you could be predisposed to things like heart disease years earlier than you might otherwise have been. So trying to separate mental and physical health, it fundamentally misunderstands what well-being truly is. They're intertwined.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we're pretty good about getting, annual physicals for our bodies, why aren't we doing the same for our minds? Shouldn't mental health checkups be just as routine, like preventative maintenance for a really complex machine?
Exactly. That car maintenance analogy is actually pretty good. And the benefits, they're profound. Think about it. Routine checkups shift us away from just reacting to crises.
Right.
We become proactive.
Right.
You get early detection for things like anxiety or burnout before they spiral. You develop coping skills preventatively. And if something does come up, treatment outcomes are just so much better when you catch it early. Plus, and this is huge, just normalizing these checkups, these conversations.
Yeah.
It chips away at that awful stigma,
Yeah.
making it feel as normal as, going to the dentist.
That stigma point is so important. I've often wondered why we're so quick to downplay our own struggles. That whole I'm strong enough thing, or, well, other people have it much worse. Why do we do that, even when we feel that invisible weight dragging us down?
It's a very human tendency, unfortunately, and that instinct to minimize things, that I should be able to handle this mindset. That's precisely when getting some professional insight can be invaluable. Think about someone who's getting increasingly irritable, maybe finding it hard to focus, feeling tired all the time. It's easy to chalk it up to just a bad week, right? But those could be early warning signs. Or, the high achiever who suddenly starts having panic attacks before big meetings, they might think, I've always done this. Why is this happening now?
Right. Confusion sets in.
Exactly. And that denial, that minimizing, it stops us from seeking understanding proactively, and that invisible weight, it just gets heavier. Hey, if this video helped you, hitting that like button tells YouTube to show it to more people who might need it too.
Okay, so for someone listening who maybe recognizes some of those subtle signs or just wants to be proactive, what's the actual challenge in finding help? And what are the best ways to, navigate that?
Well, beyond just knowing who to call, like a psychologist or psychiatrist, the real challenge for a lot of people is figuring out the system itself. Where do you even start?
Yeah.
A good first step is often your family doctor. They can do an initial assessment, give you some guidance, maybe make referrals. Then you have options like psychologists who mainly do talk therapy. Psychiatrists can prescribe medication and often do therapy too. Counselors or therapists offer focused support. Social workers are great for connecting you with community resources.
Okay.
And for immediate help, Never forget crisis hotlines like 988 here in Canada. Super important. Also, check if your workplace has an employee assistance program, an EAP. They often offer free, confidential counseling.
Right, those EAPs can be really useful.
Absolutely. The key, really, is figuring out which pathway feels right for your specific situation and comfort level.
It definitely feels like technology is really changing the game here, not just making support more accessible, but kind of changing how we interact with it, integrating it more into daily life.
Oh, absolutely. Technology is seriously augmenting human care. It's making support more integrated, maybe less intimidating for some people. Think about AI chatbots. They're getting quite sophisticated using principles from, say, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. They can help you spot and challenge negative thought patterns almost instantly, like a little thought coach in your pocket.
Interesting.
Then there's telehealth, online therapy, huge for breaking down geographical barriers, wearable tech like smart watches that can track things like heart rate variability, sleep patterns, giving you early warnings sometimes before you even feel consciously stressed.
Wow.
We also have digital therapeutics, basically evidence-based software used as treatment. And even VR or AR therapy for things like exposure therapy in a controlled way.
It's amazing how many tools are emerging.
It really is. They offer this kind of continuous personalized support that was honestly unimaginable just a decade or so ago.
So, okay, beyond seeking professional help when needed and maybe using some of these tech tools, what about daily habits? What are some practical, positive steps anyone can take? Kind of like a daily mental hygiene routine.
Great question. Foundational stuff first. Prioritize sleep. Aim for that 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. It's non-negotiable, really.
Right. Sleep is key.
Then regular physical activity. Huge mood regulator. Doesn't have to be intense, just move your body. Practice mindfulness. Even just a few minutes of deep breathing can make a difference. And connection. Connect meaningfully with other people. Don't isolate yourself. Set realistic goals, ones that empower you, not overwhelm you. And practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself, as kind as you'd be to a friend going through a tough time.
That's a good reminder.
And critically, looping back to what we said earlier, consider a mental health checkup even if you feel pretty okay. Be proactive. We've seen people overcome things like really intense social anxiety, not necessarily through years of traditional therapy alone, but by combining insights from an early checkup with accessible online tools. It helps you shed that invisible struggle and really reclaim your life.
So when you boil it all down, it seems so clear. We wouldn't just ignore a broken leg and hope it gets better on its own, would we?
Of course not.
So we just cannot afford to neglect our mental well-being, that invisible weight we might be carrying. The parallels between physical and mental health are just undeniable. And the cost of doing nothing is simply too high.
Exactly. And if you think about the bigger picture here, embracing this idea of proactive mental health care, understanding when you need help, knowing how to find it, leveraging these amazing new tools, it truly empowers you to build a more resilient, a more fulfilling life. It's really a journey, isn't it? A journey of self-discovery, of compassion for yourself, and nurturing both parts of you, the visible and the invisible, for genuine holistic well-being. If you're enjoying the series, want to follow it all the way through, definitely subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
And please remember, the opinions expressed here are just for informational purposes.
That's right. They are definitely not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment.
Always seek the guidance of a qualified healthcare provider for any health concerns you might have.